there, this is Mrs. Meek. Today we're going to talk about cellular energy. We're moving on to Chapter 8. Today we're going to review some of the ways that organisms obtain energy. And we've talked previously about how energy is one of the characteristics of life, and we're going to review how energy is transferred from one organism to another. So make sure you take notes. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so when we talk about energy, we have to keep in mind the law of transformation of energy, and that is energy cannot be created or destroyed. So it's true for physical constructs, and it's also true for biological constructs as well. So energy is pretty much the ability to do work, and that is the true physical science definition. Also applies to biology. Thermodynamics is the study of the flow of energy in the universe, and it includes the law of conservation of energy. And part of the law of conservation of energy also includes the idea and the concept that energy cannot be converted without the loss of usable energy. So some energy is what we call quote unquote lost. In reality, it's converted to thermal energy, which is a form of energy, but typically not a usable form of energy. All right, and then lastly, I just want to remind you of the term entropy, which is the measure of disorder or usable energy in a system. All right, so when we start talking about biological systems and energy, we need to review two different ways that organisms can get energy. Organisms could be autotrophs, which means they make their own food, or heterotrophs, in which they have to ingest food in order to obtain energy. All right, directly or indirectly, all the energy for life comes from the sun. So the light energy from the sun is captured by autotrophs to make food. Those autotrophs then are able to make glucose, which is a form of sugar, and animals such as the heterotrophs ingest those plants in order to get the food that they need. All right, so there are two different types of autotrophs: chemoautotrophs, which are able to use inorganic substances in order to get energy, and then photoautotrophs that use the sun in order to get chemical energy. So plants are photoautotrophs. We're going to talk about some examples of chemoautotrophs when we talk about bacteria. Now, metabolism is all of the chemical reactions that occur in a cell. So a metabolic pathway is a series of chemical reactions then. And typically in a metabolic pathway, the reaction of one part of the equation creates a product that is then used as a reaction for the next step in that pathway. So the products that are produced become the substrate for the next reaction. All right, in catabolic pathways, energy is released. Catabolic is the breaking down of molecules into smaller molecules, and when we do that, we release energy. Anabolic pathways use energy released to build larger molecules from smaller molecules. So catabolic, we're releasing energy by breaking down large molecules. Anabolic is the opposite, which is using energy in order to build larger molecules. All right, this flow between catabolic and anabolic pathways is representative of the continual flow of energy. All right, so photosynthesis is an anabolic pathway. Light energy from the sun is converted to chemical energy for use by the cell. So we are capturing energy, we are creating we are creating larger molecules. So we're using energy from the sun in order to convert it to chemical energy, and we're creating larger molecules. All right, so here is the overall equation for photosynthesis. 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O with the addition of light yields C6H12O6, which is a sugar, and 6 O2 or oxygen molecules. All right, make sure you write this equation down in your notes and make sure it's a balanced equation in your notes. So make sure you have the correct coefficients as well as subscripts. So the coefficient and the subscript. All right, so cellular respiration is a catabolic pathway, so it's the opposite. It is the pathway in which organic molecules are broken down to release energy for use by the cell. All right, so in photosynthesis, we are creating energy using the sun. Catabolic pathway, which is cellular respiration, we're releasing energy for the cells. All right, so the overall equation for cellular respiration is 6 CO2, which is 6 oxygen, plus sugar, C6H12O6, will yield us 6 carbon dioxide molecules and 6 water molecules plus energy in the form of ATP. All right, so once again, make sure you write down this equation in your notes and that you include the coefficient and the subscript so you have the correct balanced chemical formula. All right, also ATP is the chemical form of energy that our cells use. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate, and it is a chemical molecule that is able to be converted from chemical form of energy into mechanical energy. So this is the actual currency, so to speak, that your body uses in order to go from breaking down its food into actually moving muscles, pumping your heart, all of the physical or mechanical things that your body must do. So sometimes we most often refer to it as ATP, and it is the most important and abundant biological molecule that provides chemical energy in all organisms. So all animals and even plants, all organisms require ATP, adenosine triphosphate. All right, really quick, we're going to look at a structure of ATP. All right, so you have, as part of the structure of ATP, you have this double ring structure, a single ring structure, which is a sugar, and attached to that you have these 3 phosphate groups. So this adenine base right here is attached to a ribose sugar, and attached to that are 3 phosphate groups. So ATP has 3 phosphate groups because of that triphosphate. All right, back to the slide here. In between the second and third phosphate group, there's a high energy bond. When this bond is broken, energy is released, and that energy can be used by your body and can be translated into mechanical energy. All right, when that bond is released, what happened to my slide here? Here it is. All right, it forms ADP. All right, so ATP will form ADP when this phosphate group is released, when that bond between the second and third phosphate group is released. So ADP is called adenosine diphosphate because there's only 2 phosphate groups. All right, and then you're left with a free phosphate group. All right, we can also form adenosine monophosphate group if we break the bond between the first and second. Sometimes this does occur, and then a little more energy is released, but the most energy, the biggest bang for our buck, is when we're able to break that bond between the second and third phosphate groups. All right, so very rarely will an organism break the bond between the first and second. Typically, they focus on the biggest bang for their buck. All right, so please make sure you understand and maybe draw a rough sketch of ATP and ADP. We're going to be talking a lot about this in this upcoming chapter. All right, here's a quick video clip I found for you that I just want you to watch on ATP and how it works. So you don't need to take notes on this, but just pay attention.
Welcome to BioVid Episode 3. My name is Leslie Samuel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about ATP, what it is, and how it works. Now take a look at this guy. He's preparing for a big match. He's been training, he's been exercising, and doing everything that he needs to do to get ready for that big day. But the question is, how does he get this energy? Well, part of the answer has to do with a small molecule with a big name. And that molecule is adenosine triphosphate, or you can call it ATP for short. Here you can see the A representing adenosine, and you can see 3 P's representing 3 phosphate groups. ATP is a molecule in the cell that allows for quick and easy access to energy when needed by the cell's organelles. In other words, this is the energy currency of the body. When the cell needs energy, it gets it from ATP. It's a type of chemical energy in that it releases energy when the chemical bonds are broken. When the bond is broken between 2 phosphate groups, that releases energy. Let's take a look at how exactly this happens in the cell. Here we have a process, and as you can see, it's in desperate need of some energy. Fortunately, there's ATP that comes along, and when that ATP comes to the process, it breaks the bond between 2 phosphate groups and donates 1 phosphate to that process or that protein or whatever it is that needs that energy. When this happens, the process gets the energy that it needs, and it can then do whatever task it needs to accomplish. Let's get rid of this process for now. And now you can see we are left with 2 phosphate groups, so it's no longer ATP, it's ADP, or adenosine diphosphate. If we want to use this molecule again, we need to recharge it as we would do for a rechargeable battery. In order to do this in the cell, we need a very special organelle called the mitochondria. ADP then goes to the mitochondria, and the ADP gets recharged by the mitochondria adding another phosphate on, and it's now ATP again. So whatever you're doing, whether you're preparing for a big match or just going for a jog, playing some football, or even just spending time with that special someone in the park, it does take energy, and that energy is provided by ATP.
All right, there's also a crash course biology video with Hank on YouTube if you're interested in watching that as well. It's got some good information for you, but I do believe it's about a 10-minute video. I will see you in class tomorrow.